What happens when an Iranian drone flies too close to one of America's most powerful warships? Just hours ago, a U.S. fighter jet made a split-second decision that could reshape tensions in the Middle East. The USS Abraham Lincoln, a nuclear-powered aircraft carrier worth over $6 billion, was conducting routine operations when sensors detected an unexpected visitor. This isn't just another military encounter. This is a story about technology, strategy, and the razor-thin line between surveillance and provocation. Stay with me, because what happened next reveals something crucial about modern warfare that most people completely miss. Let me break down exactly what occurred. The USS Abraham Lincoln, one of the most advanced naval vessels ever built, was operating in international waters near the Persian Gulf. This massive carrier, home to approximately 5,000 personnel and over 60 aircraft, represents American naval power at its finest. According to initial reports, an Iranian unmanned aerial vehicle began approaching the carrier strike group. Now, here's what you need to understand. These encounters aren't entirely uncommon in this region. Iranian forces and U.S. naval assets operate in relatively close proximity, and both sides regularly monitor each other's activities. But this situation was different. The drone continued its approach despite standard warning protocols. When an unidentified aircraft approaches a U.S. carrier strike group, there's a specific sequence of events. First, radar operators detect the contact, then communication attempts are made, warning signals are sent, and if the aircraft continues, defensive measures escalate. In this case, a fighter jet from the Lincoln's air wing was scrambled to intercept. The pilot, whose identity remains classified, made visual confirmation of the drone and, following rules of engagement, neutralized the threat. The entire sequence likely lasted less than 15 minutes from initial detection to the moment the drone fell from the sky. To understand why this matters, you need to know about the key players involved. The USS Abraham Lincoln isn't just any ship. Commissioned in 1989, this Nimitz-class carrier has been at the center of American military operations for over 3 decades. It's been deployed to virtually every major conflict zone, from the Gulf War to operations against extremist organizations. When the Lincoln arrives in a region, it sends a message. On the other side, we have Iran's drone program, and this is where things get really interesting. Iran has invested heavily in unmanned aerial vehicle technology over the past 2 decades. While their drones may not match the sophistication of American Reaper or Global Hawk systems, they've proven surprisingly effective. Iranian drones have demonstrated impressive range, endurance, and payload capacity. Why drones? Because they're perfect for a country like Iran. They're relatively inexpensive compared to manned aircraft. They can be mass-produced. And most importantly, losing a drone doesn't mean losing a pilot, which changes the calculation of risk entirely. Iran operates several types of drones. The Shahed series, for example, has been used extensively and even exported to other nations. The Mohajer drones provide surveillance capabilities. And the Ababil series offers both reconnaissance and strike potential. But here's the critical question. Was this drone on a surveillance mission, or was it testing American response times and procedures? That distinction matters enormously. This incident doesn't exist in a vacuum. It's part of a much larger pattern of tensions in one of the world's most strategically vital regions. The Persian Gulf and surrounding waters are the arteries of global energy supply. Approximately 1/5 of the world's petroleum passes through the Strait of Hormuz. Control and influence over this region translates directly to economic leverage on the world stage. For decades, the United States has maintained a significant naval presence here. Aircraft carriers rotate through, destroyer squadrons patrol the waters, and military installations dot allied nations in the area. The stated purpose is ensuring freedom of navigation and protecting international commerce. Iran sees this differently. From Tehran's perspective, these are foreign military forces operating in their backyard. Imagine if Iranian warships regularly patrolled the Gulf of Mexico. The United States would certainly take notice. This fundamental disagreement creates a dangerous dynamic. Both sides conduct what they consider defensive operations, but each views the other's actions as provocative. Recent years have seen numerous close encounters. Iranian fast boats swarming near U.S. vessels, American surveillance flights along Iranian borders, seizures of commercial vessels. Each incident ratchets up tensions slightly, creating a spiral that's difficult to de-escalate. The nuclear agreement, formerly known as the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, was supposed to ease these tensions, but its collapse and subsequent sanctions have only deepened the mistrust. Iran has responded by expanding its regional influence and developing capabilities designed to offset American conventional superiority. Drones fit perfectly into this strategy. They're what military analysts call asymmetric weapons, tools that allow a weaker power to challenge a stronger one without direct confrontation. Let's talk about what makes this encounter particularly significant from a technology standpoint. Modern warfare is increasingly about unmanned systems, and this incident highlights why. The fighter pilot who shot down this drone was engaging in what might become the most common form of aerial combat in the 21st century. Manned aircraft versus unmanned systems. Think about the advantages drones offer. They can loiter for hours or even days, far longer than any pilot could sustain. They can take risks that would be unacceptable with human crews, and they generate enormous amounts of intelligence data through their sensors and cameras. The detection and tracking of this Iranian drone involved multiple layers of technology. The Lincoln's radar systems, likely the AN-SPY-1 radar, would have detected it first. This is the same radar system that can track hundreds of targets simultaneously, from sea-skimming missiles to high-altitude aircraft. Once detected, the information flows through the ship's Combat Information Center, where officers assess the threat level. Is this a hostile act, a surveillance mission, a navigation error? Electronic warfare specialists would attempt to identify the drone's type based on its radar signature and electronic emissions. Intelligence officers would cross-reference this data with known Iranian UAV capabilities. Meanwhile, the fighter jet, likely an F/A-18 Super Hornet, launched from the carrier's deck. These aircraft are equipped with sophisticated radar and targeting systems that allow pilots to identify and engage threats at significant distances. The actual shoot-down probably involved an air-to-air missile, though the specific weapon hasn't been disclosed. Modern air-to-air missiles are marvels of engineering, heat-seeking or radar-guided weapons that can track and destroy targets with incredible precision. But here's what's truly fascinating. This entire engagement is also a massive intelligence operation. Both sides are learning from this encounter. Iran now knows response times, procedures, and potentially even weapon signatures. The United States has collected data on the drone's capabilities, flight patterns, and electronic characteristics. So where do we go from here? In the immediate aftermath, diplomatic channels are likely buzzing with activity. Despite public tensions, the United States and Iran maintain indirect communication through intermediaries, typically Switzerland, which represents American interests in Tehran. The messaging will be carefully calibrated. The United States will emphasize the defensive nature of the action and the right to protect its forces. Iran will likely condemn what it characterizes as aggression in the region. But behind closed doors, both sides are making calculations. Will Iran respond, and if so, how? History suggests several possibilities. Iran might increase its own military activities in the region. More patrols, more surveillance, more presence. This signals resolve without direct escalation. Alternatively, Iranian-backed groups in Iraq, Syria, or Yemen might increase their activities. This provides plausible deniability while still sending a message. Or, and this is what cooler heads on both sides hope for, this incident becomes just another data point in an ongoing competition, acknowledged but not escalated. The broader implications extend beyond this single encounter. Every incident like this one contributes to what military planners call normalization. Actions that might have seemed provocative a decade ago gradually become routine. This can actually reduce tension by making responses more predictable, but it can also create dangerous situations where a miscalculation leads to unintended conflict. For the American military, Incidents like this reinforce the importance of maintaining readiness and technological superiority. Budgets get justified, weapons programs receive support, and deployments continue. For Iran, each encounter provides learning opportunities and demonstrates that they won't be intimidated by superior American firepower. It's about showing resolve to both domestic and regional audiences. Here's what this incident really tells us. We're living in an era where military competition happens continuously, often below the threshold of what we traditionally call war. Drones, electronic warfare, cyber operations, these are the tools of modern power projection. The shootdown of an Iranian drone near the USS Abraham Lincoln isn't the beginning of a war, but it's not insignificant either. It's a reminder that in strategically vital regions, rival powers operate in close proximity, testing boundaries and capabilities every single day. For those watching from the outside, it's easy to see these incidents as isolated events, but they're actually part of an ongoing strategic competition that shapes global politics, energy markets, and international security. The question isn't whether these encounters will continue. They will. The question is whether both sides can manage this competition without letting it spiral into something far more destructive. As this story develops, we'll learn more about the specific circumstances and the responses from both nations. But one thing is already clear. In the narrow waters and airspace of the Middle East, the margin for error remains razor thin. Thank you for watching. If you found this analysis valuable, please like and subscribe for more in-depth coverage of global military and strategic developments.